You know, when we think about cyber attacks, we often picture these huge, dramatic hits on massive companies.
Right, the big headline grabbers.
Exactly. But what's maybe more, I don't know, concerning sometimes is how threats can just quietly sneak into the everyday digital tools we use, the
Yeah.
ones we really trust.
Yeah, the things running in the
So,
background.
so let's dig into a recent campaign that really shines a light on this. It's called Operation SyncHole, and it targeted organizations in South Korea
hmm
and across some pretty critical sectors too: software, IT, finance, even semiconductors and telecoms.
That's a wide net.
It is. And what really caught my eye is the suggestion that the number of victims we know about, it might just be the tip of the iceberg, could be much larger.
Suggesting a more widespread sort of hidden impact.
Right. So our mission today in this deep dive is to unpack Operation Sinkhole. We want to look at the methods they used, what the fallout could be, and crucially, what you should take away from this kind of threat without getting totally lost in the tech speak.
And it's worth unpacking because the sophistication here is, well, it's significant, highly targeted.
Who's behind it?
The evidence points pretty strongly towards the Lazarus Group.
Ah, okay. Heard that name before. North Korea linked, right? Been around a while.
That's the one. Active since at least 2009, well-resourced, pretty notorious, frankly, and Operation Sinkhole. It really shows they have a deep understanding of South Korea's specific software environment.
Mm-hmm.
That was key here.
Okay, so they knew the landscape. How did they first get in? What was the starting point?
It looks like a classic watering hole attack to begin with.
Okay, remind us watering hole.
Sure. Think of like predators waiting at a literal watering hole where they know animals will come to drink.
Mm.
Digitally, it means compromising websites that your specific targets are likely to visit.
Gotcha. So not just random sites.
No, definitely not. In this case, they compromised several popular South Korean online media websites, turned them into bait, essentially.
Clever. And presumably quite effective if your targets frequent those sites.
Exactly. And they weren't just, infecting everyone who visited. They set up filters.
Filters.
You had to be selective, like digital bouncers, only letting certain visitors, the ones they were actually targeting, get redirected to the malicious websites they controlled. Everyone else just saw the normal site.
Wow, okay. That's precision targeting.
It really is. It's a hallmark of these advanced persistent threats, or APTs. These aren't quick smash and grabs. They're planned, patient campaigns.
So laser focus, not a wide net. Okay,
Yeah.
they get the target to their malicious site. What happens then? You mentioned exploiting South Korean software.
Right. This is where their knowledge of the local ecosystem comes in. Two main pieces of software pop up: Cross-EX and Innorix agent.
Cross-EX sounds familiar. Isn't that like security software?
Ironically, yes. It's legitimate South Korean software meant to enhance security for things like online banking, government sites, anti-key logging, digital signatures, that sort of thing.
So the security software itself was the weak point.
It seems that way. There's a strong suspicion a vulnerability in Cross-EX was exploited. And the really worrying part is that exploiting something like Cross-EX could potentially give the attackers elevated privileges, more control.
Oof, okay. Is there confirmation on that?
Well, KR-CERT, that's the Korea Internet and Security Agency, they did confirm recently patched vulnerabilities in Cross-EX. The timing fits. It strongly suggests Lazarus was tracking and using those known flaws.
Okay, so that's Cross-EX. What about the other one? Innorix agent.
Innorix agent is described as a third-party tool, integrates with browsers. It's used for secure file transfers, often in administrative or financial systems.
And vulnerable too, I take it?
Yes. Specifically, they exploited what's called a one-day vulnerability in it, version 9.2.18.496.
Okay, one day. Explain that. Sounds like it's newly discovered.
Pretty much.
Mm.
It means a flaw that's just been found. Maybe the vendor knows, maybe not. But crucially, a patch isn't widely deployed yet. It's one day old in the public domain, so to speak. And Lazarus jumped on this one in Innorix agent to move laterally.
Lateral movement, meaning spreading inside the network.
Exactly. Hopping from the first infected machine to other computers within the same organization, using that Innorix flaw as a pathway.
Like a digital master key for moving around. Scary. And I think I saw something about a zero-day vulnerability too in Innorix.
You did. That's even more serious. A 0-day means the vulnerability is totally unknown to the vendor. When it's first exploited, they've had 0 days to fix it.
So no patch exists at all.
Right. Kaspersky researchers actually found an arbitrary file download 0-day in several versions of Innorix agent.
Wow. Was that exploited too?
It seems it was discovered before widespread exploitation, thankfully. It was reported responsibly to KR-CERT and the vendor, and it got patched. It's now identified as KVE 2025-0013, a good example of proactive security research paying off.
Definitely highlights the importance of that. Okay, so they use these software flaws to get in and move around. What kind of malware did they actually deploy? Sounds like they came prepared.
They certainly did. A whole toolkit, really. We saw several malware families linked to Lazarus being used. Names like ThreatNeedle, AGAMEMNON, Wagent, Cybersecurity, and Copperhedge.
Okay, let's break this down a bit. ThreatNeedle.
ThreatNeedle is a known backdoor. Think of it as a secret door into the system. It's modular, meaning they can add or remove functions as needed.
Adaptable.
Very. And it uses pretty strong encryption curve 25519 and SHA-20 for its command and control. It's C2 communications. Makes it hard to spy on what they're doing.
Okay. What about WAgent?
WAgent is mainly a downloader. It often disguises itself, maybe as a DLL file that looks legit. It uses AES-128 encryption and tries to deploy its main payload directly into memory.
In memory. So it avoids writing to the hard drive. Makes it harder to detect.
Exactly. More stealthy. Then there's SIGMBT. That one's used for delivering other malware payloads remotely. It uses both RSA and AES encryption. And newer versions seem to have even better ways of hiding their C2 traffic.
Constantly upgrading their tools. And Copperhedge, distinctive name.
It is. It's a variant of another malware called Manuscript. Copperhedge is notable for its recon capabilities. It has something like 30 different commands just for gathering information about the infected system and the network.
Spying capabilities.
Right. And it uses a clever trick called alternate data streams to hide its configuration files. Another layer of stealth.
Okay. Quite the collection. Any others? AGAMEMNON?
AGAMEMNON is another downloader. It uses some quite advanced evasion techniques, things called Hell's Gate and Tartarus T-Palak inject, basically. Ways to avoid detection by security software and load itself reflectively into memory. There was also ELPA client mentioned, which seems geared towards profiling the victim system and delivering more payloads.
It really sounds like a specialized tool for every single step of the process.
Yeah.
And all designed to be, well, sneaky, using known evasion techniques too.
Yeah, they incorporate open source or publicly known evasion methods, which, even if known, can still be effective against defenses that aren't up to date or configured perfectly.
So how did this all play out? Can you walk us through the typical flow of an attack?
It seems to have been a multi-stage operation. Broadly, two main phases.
Okay.
Phase 1 was about getting that initial access and dropping malware like ThreatNeedle and WAgent. Interestingly, sometimes this might have happened via supply chain attacks, meaning compromising a legitimate software update process for some other piece of software the target uses. The malware gets delivered disguised as a legitimate update.
Wow, okay. That's insidious. And phase 2?
Phase 2 brought in the more advanced tools like SyncHole and Copperhedge. This phase was focused on what happens after their inside post-exploitation. Stealing credentials, mapping out the network, finding valuable data, and then exfiltrating it, sending it back to themselves.
And that Innorix agent vulnerability was key for moving between machines in phase 2.
It seems like it played a big role in facilitating that lateral movement, yes, allowing them to spread from that initial beachhead throughout the network and get this for their command and control.
Yeah.
They apparently used legitimate but compromised South Korean websites, sometimes even re-registering old abandoned domain names to make their C2 traffic blend in better with normal internet activity. Very hard to spot.
That's incredibly sophisticated camouflage. So the impact,
Yeah.
we're talking software companies, IT, finance, semiconductors, telecoms. The potential damage here feels enormous.
It really is. Think about the kind of data in those sectors. Intellectual property, source code, financial data, customer information, potentially even critical infrastructure details. Accessing that could be devastating.
Absolutely. And beyond the specific victims.
Well, it raises a huge red flag about third-party browser plugins and helper tools in general, especially ones that might be region-specific, maybe older, less maintained.
Because they often need deep access.
Exactly. They integrate deeply, often run with high privileges. They just massively expand the potential attack surface for everyone.
It really makes you pause and think about all those little add-ons and tools we all use, even if we aren't in South Korea. We could be using something similar with hidden risks.
It's a valid concern.
So given all this, what are the key takeaways? What should organizations, maybe even individuals listening, be doing to defend themselves better against this kind of threat?
Well, number one, and it always bears repeating, keep your software updated, all of it. Patches fix the known holes attackers exploit. That's fundamental.
Right. Patch, patch, patch.
Then organizations really need robust cybersecurity audits. Regularly check your systems, your networks, find the weak spots. You also need good security solutions, real-time protection, visibility across your network, things like EDR, XDR endpoint detection and response, or extended detection and response.
Tools to see and react quickly.
Precisely. And proactive threat intelligence is vital. Knowing what threats are out there, what tactics attackers are using, plus having a solid plan for fixing vulnerabilities fast when they're found.
So it's not just about blocking, but also knowing what to look for and fixing weaknesses quickly.
Yes. That includes actively blocking known bad indicators, malicious IP addresses, domains, file hashes, searching your systems for signs of compromise, what we call indicators of compromise or IOCs, and applying those patches, especially for third-party tools.
What else should be on the checklist?
Regular vulnerability scanning is key. Continuously looking for flaws. Also, really scrutinize any third-party browser software you use. Limit it if possible. Ask, do we really need this? Is it actively maintained?
Good point. What about controlling what runs on systems?
Application control or whitelisting is great for that, only allowing approved software to run. Network segmentation helps contain breaches if they happen to stop attackers moving laterally so easily.
Dividing the network up.
Right. EDR solutions, as I mentioned, give you that endpoint visibility. Integrating threat intelligence feeds keeps your defenses current. Memory protection technologies can help stop those fileless, in-memory attacks we talked about. Monitoring system processes for anything unusual is critical too. And never forget the human element, good cybersecurity awareness training for everyone. So many attacks still start with a phishing email or a social engineering trick.
It's a truly comprehensive list. Security isn't just one thing. It's layers upon layers and constant vigilance.
It really is.
And speaking of defense and robust solutions, this deep dive into Operation SyncHole is brought to you by Stonefly. If you're looking for secure, ransomware-proof storage, remember that Stonefly offers air-gapped and immutable solutions. You can contact sales at stonefly.com to schedule a demo and really bolster your defenses.
Absolutely. Ultimately, I think Operation SyncHole is a really stark reminder for all of us. Even software that seems harmless, websites we trust, they can be turned into gateways for very sophisticated attacks.
Yeah, it really drives home that need for vigilance.
Vigilance and proactive security measures. It's not just for big corporations, it's paramount for everyone in today's digital world.
So maybe the thought to leave everyone with today is this. Take a moment to consider the software you rely on every single day. You know, the stuff on your phone, your laptop, at work. How confident are you, really, in its security? And maybe more importantly, what steps can you actually take starting now to better understand and maybe mitigate some of those potential risks? Definitely something worth chewing on.